is the very end. You know, it's not fish. Will, yeah. He asked catch it once on. I'll see you.
Can anybody hear me? You do?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. What about me?
I can hear you. Okay, I'm gonna,
Do you know all how I can get on the agenda for like a 3-minute talk?
hear me?
What's up?
You can just raise your hand or some, ask them at the beginning.
Okay,
Good luck.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Come on.
That's weird. I headed up to Gardner this morning, like hospital, was blue sky. Ricky Creek concert. That's crazy. I looked on the mirrors. You got and I was like, he was just talking about. Thanks.
Someone to change word.
Our house clock is a little fast, so we'll give it a few more minutes to catch up to everything in the digital world here.
Any comments?
No, not yet.
I don't see anyone else on council on here.
Good, how are you?
Right. Pleasant.
Yeah, no problem.
The fog's not set back in yet. You have all that, no?
I don't, it's clear. Is there closer?
So.
Full house. I heard there was a party for Mr. Decker, Los Dramas de Burg, so I brought popcorn and soda if anybody wants.
Thank you. I'm at home right now. In my tiny house. Thank you very much.
I know.
You're than I thought.
Yeah, that clock fast for me. This is.
Okay.
And the guy, it's like.
That's for the popcorn.
That's not necessary, Miss Laura.
Can anybody stop her, please?
Sorry, thank you.
Stop her.
Okay, the time is now 6 p.m. We'll go ahead and call this March 7th regular meeting of the Walsenburg City Council to order. Ms. Park, could you please give us a roll call?
Mr. Rock,
Here.
Mr. Jennings,
Here.
Here. Vito,
Here.
Mr. Martinez,
Here.
Mayor Bryant,
Here.
Daniels. Mr. Daniels. You have a quorum?
Thank you. Mr. Vio, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to approval of this evening's agenda. Just like to add, at the either the beginning or end of new business, we'll have to add two items: the acceptance of Mr. Daniel's resignation letter, and then we'll need a second agenda item regarding instruction to administration on how to proceed with the filling of that vacancy. Do we have a motion for this item?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Vio. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Martinez. Is there any additional discussion? Okay, we can go ahead and plug those in at the bottom of new business then. Ms. Bark, please call for the vote.
Is this to approve the whole agenda or just part of it?
The whole agenda,
Okay, because
those modifications.
I would like to add executive session, possible. Do I need to say why I want the executive session?
If you could, please.
Okay, I would like to speak, I guess it's in reference to a conference with the city attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under Colorado Revised Statute, section 24-6-4024B. I would like to talk about information of the sheriff, the mercantile, the billing, and Aguilar.
Is there any further discussion before we call for the vote? Hearing none, Ms. Barr, can you please call for the vote?
Ms. Mays,
Yes.
Mr. Beal,
Here.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Bryant,
Yes.
Jennings,
Yes.
Flora,
Yes.
passes.
We have no items within our consent agenda this evening, so we'll move on to the approval of the February 21st, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion for this?
I'll make,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes for February 21st, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Laura, second by Mr. Veal. Is there any discussion before we call for the vote?
Only one thing on number 65, it's Mr. Bonacelli. I think it's Bonicelle.
Thank you, Ms. Laura.
You're welcome.
Could you please call for the vote, Ms. Barr?
Ms. Flora,
Yes.
Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
passes.
Moving on to staff reports, Ms. Vera, did you have anything in addition to your written report that you provided?
No, nothing other than what we might be discussing later tonight.
Thank you. Moving on to city administrator report, Ms. Davis, did you have anything in addition to your written report?
I do not this evening, sir. I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Does council have any questions for Ms. Davis? Mr. Veal? Mr. Jennings?
Not at this time.
Ms. Laura?
I was wondering with the water hall. I see that you sent something out to the water hall users. I was wondering when we could expect a report according to the ordinance regarding water hall.
It was included in the email with the water hall information. It gave you Gallonese number of active and inactive.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't get that, so I'll have to check on that. And then I was gonna ask, I have asked this several times, but I wanted to bring it up again. You will be printing the ballots for recall election. And I would like to see a copy of that before it goes. I know it's already typed up and everything, but I would like to see how it looks compared to the opposing and the question that will be asked on the ballot.
So I'm not sure that I can guarantee the availability of that, because if we make it available to you, then we have to make it available to everyone. So we'll have to confer with both the attorney and our consultant in regards to how that's handled.
And
all we can assure you, ma'am, is that the information that is presented, both pro and con, is presented in the same format. What we do not want to appear as a municipality and as a governmental entity is that we are favoritizing or showing favoritism for any one entity. So there is no bold print. There's no multiple explanation points. There's nothing. It's a very basic paragraph format, uppercase, lowercase, punctuation, but all of the verbiage is as presented.
My question is for the question on how the question will be asked. Do you wish to recall such and such? That's what my concern is. So
I can provide that without providing you the actual ballot, ma'am.
Okay, that would be fine. And also the vac truck, I thought we had put that on hold. Are we looking for a vac truck again?
We've been looking for a back truck for like a year and a half that I know of.
Well, I thought we had put that on hold because you purchased the other two.
No.
Oh, and the excavator.
No, ma'am. The vac truck is in the capital improvement budget and it's been there for I know well over a year. So I'm trying to stay well under the projected cost of that, but I have to find one first.
Right.
Martinez, do you have anything this evening?
I do not.
Ms. Mason?
I just want to kind of just reiterate what Ms. Laura brought up, but I think to educate the public. I mean, I don't remember the last time this city has seen a recall election. So I think if we do provide that information to voters, I don't see a problem with that. The more we can educate them so they know exactly what they're voting for, I don't see that that would be a problem. So
We could ask Ms. Goldman. She should be on tonight, right?
She will not be available this evening.
How are we going to choose a hearing date?
She is running an election and is unavailable this evening. So the recommendations that were put in your packet is the same information as what she would be able to provide as well.
Anything further from council for Ms. Davis?
I'd like to ask a question about the lake report.
Yes, ma'am.
So every time we meet, we get a report on Martin Horseshoe City, Wahatoya, Dagger. But there aren't very many readings for the past 5 meetings. It's important for us to get the information on lake levels so we can monitor as well. I monitor the city lake and city lake is dropping. And I don't know. The hard thing is that when we see things that are happening and we're clueless as to why they're happening, it makes our job harder to do. So the lake level for, I don't even know what this is, February 3rd, and then it's a blank date of when the last time the lake was checked. So it went from 18.5 February 3rd to 15.9, which is quite a bit, but because we have had issues with overflows and underflows, you want to say it that way? I thought we were supposed to be checking them at least, 2 or 3 times a week, and it doesn't appear that we're even getting to them every 2 weeks. So
the report that's in front of you is indicative of that point in time. It is not indicative of our process during the week. We do check those, particularly the 3 top ones, which are Dagger, Wahatoya, and City Report. We don't necessarily note them on the report.
why not?
I don't.
Give us more information.
If that is your preference, then I'll be delighted to provide you that report.
Well, that's the way it was always done in the past. So if you could continue that, that would be great.
I mean, if we're measuring them, why can't we be provided with the information?
Just plug the numbers in. I mean, that's the way it's always been done. And I'm finding that on a lot of reports. The service order report, we used to get dates. I mean, not dates, addresses. And all of a sudden, we're not getting the addresses. I prepare my own spreadsheet showing the areas where the disconnects are, where the meters are put in, where the earths are put in and all of that. And I can't do my report anymore because you're not providing me with the addresses. So I can't even check that. The building permit report, now they're not including a completed route. And I don't understand why everybody just changes things on their own whim, and council's not privy to that. Council's not a part of it. I mean, I can understand some things, but it seems like every time we meet, council's being pushed out, and every time we meet, citizens are being pushed.
So ma'am, if I might address the first 2 questions. So based upon the work order, we had identified in previous concerns that were addressed, the reason why we were not including addresses, that's private information that really should not be privy to not only council for the most part, but these documents are also available to the public. That's really not public information that should be. As far as if you'll notice that the building permit is for 2023, those are the most current permits. Chances are that none of those have been closed. They are not finished.
But there's not even a line anymore for it.
I'm sure that when they come to one, then they will be able to close it. But I'm guessing, ma'am, that that's the situation with those particular permits. They were just pulled within the last month and a half.
And I hear what you're saying and I understand, but these reports have been this way for years.
Ma'am,
And we don't need.
you have brought up
Talk about it later.
report before, and I'm just identifying again the reason that you will not see addresses on the work order report.
Even if we were to make a motion, we wouldn't see it.
Sorry, so I just want to direct city council if there's any, or if you guys want to see any different change from staff and the way they make their reports, I'd just ask you to make a motion directing staff to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Farah. And then I think it needs to be said too, council's job is more so looking at the broader picture, not the granularity of basically duplicating city staff tasks. We tend to neglect what is within our scope of duty when we're distracted with other things such as that. Just my opinion, but moving on to our city accountant, Mr. Moore, do you have anything in addition to your written report this evening, sir?
I'd like to draw the council's attention to item 6 for discussion of the financial workshop. I would specifically want to encourage the council to consider that in one of the 5:30 work session slots. That's an excellent availability for myself and to make that time open. We don't use that for anything else at the moment. So I would just like for you to consider that if you want to take the time.
Thank you, sir. During the appropriate time in the agenda, we'll see if we can get a motion or at least a discussion to consider that. Does council have any questions for Mr. Moore? Ms. Mace?
No.
Mr. Martinez?
No.
Could you describe some, if any, of the headway that you made with some of the concerns with some of our larger accounts, such as the Housing Authority and RE1?
So with RE1, we only found one meter that's got questionable results for billing purposes. All the other meters that we looked at, we were able to take a range across time and identify the billing amount. Requested that RE1 take a look at the results, and if they did have any comments on those results, I was waiting to hear back on that. Since RE1 seems to be satisfied, according to Ms. Valdez's last response, we'll go ahead and update statements to make sure they match the numbers that I produced for them. And we'll be moving forward with that. We still have that 1 meter that we need to replace and take care of that in terms of billing issues in the future. Was there another particular account you were thinking of?
Oh, thank you. Covered as much as we can in this meeting anyhow. Thank you, sir. Ms. Lara, do you have anything?
No.
Mr. Jennings?
No.
Mr. Villa?
Nothing.
Okay, if there's nothing further from council, we'll go ahead and move on to the paid invoice report provided by City Treasurer Barr. Does council have any questions regarding the invoice report? Or anything else directed to Ms. Barr? Yes, Ms. Lara.
Same as always, spending a lot of money for February. Spent $410,776.36. We need to watch our spending. We don't have that much money to spend, so there are a lot of things I see on here that we're buying gloves again. We're buying tools. Did you not do an inventory? Because I know Mr. Stombaugh had started an inventory and tools were to be checked out and monitored and made. You know, I know tools break and everything, but we buy wrenches a lot, we buy screwdrivers, we buy a lot of tools, and they just seem to keep disappearing. So do we have any kind of control on inventory? Who checks out what? They should go in a truck, I'm assuming. We're just spending way too much money on different things like that.
Can I answer that question a little bit? As far as the gloves that you're seeing, most of those are those rubber surgical gloves that these guys use when they're out on sewer breaks. So yes, there is a lot of those being done because they don't really last very long. The inventory, I know that the staff is doing an inventory. They are writing down and putting into the computer of what they do have. And as far as what they're buying is what they're using. It's not additional.
Is there like a checkout system or a follow-up to?
There's not a checkout system because each department keeps their own tools. The water department keeps it in their little trailer thing. The streets keeps it actually in their truck in a toolbox. So they each have their own. If it's lost or if it is broke, they do bring it in to me. And we can decide whether to get another one or not. Some of the tools that the water department is getting is special tools that they need to fix a line. It's not just going out and buying some.
Given the variety of line types within town too, it's sure never ending surprise as far as what they need and what they don't have. Is there anything else from council?
What about the deerskin gloves?
Yeah.
Most of those are new employees. And then other ones is if they have used it on a sewer or something, then they're not going to want to wear that glove again.
Oh, but deerskin gloves cost about twice as much as cowhide.
And I've talked to them about doing the cheaper.
There's nothing further from council. We can go ahead and move on to citizens' comments. We'll go ahead and work through our folks that we have in-house first before getting to anybody that might be on Zoom. I would like to remind everybody that there's a 3-minute time limit. Who do we have up first this evening, Ms. Barr?
Bombria.
Evening, Mr. Bombria.
DOLA water project and city sheriff contract and contracting council members and mayor.
Okay, my name is Alan Bombria. I basically wanted to revisit from the last time. Mr. Mayor, you had told me there was a DOLA water project. You're gonna try to make that available online. I haven't seen anything since, but I did see something in the agenda, so.
I believe what you're referring to is the study that DOLA had assisted the city with regarding our water distribution lines and sanitary sewer. I apologize that is not on the website. If you can shoot me your email, I can at least try to get it to you a little faster like that, sir.
Okay, yeah, because I want to read it either way. The other next question I had was, how do I obtain a copy of the contract between the city and the sheriff's department?
Or request it. Cora, request it.
Cora? Okay, I'll have to look that up. I hadn't heard of that. About Cora.
It's CORA.
Thank you. Finally, I wanted to know if the contact information on the webpage for all of you is correct.
As far as the emails should be, the lines, as far as any phone numbers that you find, I'm not sure if those will still be.
One central number, but particularly the email addresses, and do you guys even check those counts?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we do.
Okay. One thing I would like to say is the city clerk's email address. He has two. There's a .com and a .org. The .org is the valid one. Don't go to the .com because he'll never get it. But that's the first one that comes up.
Okay, so that is a valid way to contact you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
All right, beautiful. That's all I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Bombria. What do we have next, Ms. Barr?
Hanukkah Beer. Do you want to speak about the observances on moving forward?
Evening, Ms. Beer.
I actually put something up so that I don't. I'm not wrong.
Need my name again? Thanks for giving us time. Like everyone else, there's always lots of things to complain about, and I was getting pretty frustrated about economic development in the city recently. But And I was trying to decide what to do, whether to write a letter, send you a letter, go to the paper, what I was going to do. So reading through the material for tonight's meeting, it appears to me that administration does have a plan. They've been working to correct all the crisis issues in the last year. And now that the crises have been worked on and procedures put in place, they seem to be working on less serious, but still important programs that are behind, like the cross connection issue, the Northlands financing. And they're still trying to manage day-to-day city functioning. So I was pleased to see on tonight's agenda the proposal for a comprehensive plan. This will work on my concerns about future development in the city. I've already been involved in at least 3 plans, and it can seem like they just keep doing the same thing. But I stopped to think about who would be involved in the new planning process and realized that there were people in their 20s or maybe even in their teens the last time we did this. And there's newcomers to the community, there's new businesses, there's new organizations, there's new administrations. Not just the city, the county, and so on. So there's a lot of new players, and a comprehensive plan is really valuable. Certainly hope you'll agree to do that. I hate to think it's going to take so long, but that's what it's going to do. I hope this time when the plan is complete, that there will be a process established for what it suggests in that document you got today: implementation, monitoring, updating, and most importantly, communicating the results to the community. I remember when Dave Johnston was here, they wanted to have a little handout to give new people so they would know about the comprehensive plan. Maybe that's something that can happen this time. In this regard, I have one last thing to say. In order to continue working on current issues and working on a comprehensive plan, stability is really critical. I came tonight to remind you that you will continue to be in charge and responsible for the city for at least the next 3 months, even though we have this recall. It doesn't relieve you of your responsibility as council people. And I want to encourage you to find a way to work together, whatever the outcome of the election, that you continue to help the city progress. That piece is done. Hopefully you can all work together and we can help you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beer. Who do we have next, Ms. Barr?
Brian Lander, you want to speak about public service?
Good evening, Mr. Lander.
Evening, Charles. We always thank our veterans for their service, but we never thank our government representatives. And I want to thank all of you for sitting up there and serving. I think it's really obvious that me and Charles have a lot of disagreements. It takes some balls to sit up there. And it's not easy. And none of you got into what you expected it to be. But you're there. Make the best of it. Maybe you'll be gone in the recall. Maybe you'll be gone at the election. Maybe you won't be gone until you're term limited. And someone else is going to come in and they're going to take your step. What did I learn during my service? I talked to you once about bounded rationality. Something that I've looked at just fascinates me. So do a Wikipedia search, but you can only make the decisions based on the information that you have. You're trying to do oversight and you're trying to do the right thing, but you've delegated portions to over here. Educate yourself of what the code is. If there's areas that are lacking, if there aren't policies, work with the attorney to fill in those gaps. That was the whole reason of codification. The other two things that were essential, I thought, was getting that finance plan to where you have controls over the financial policies, because you got policies, we just have never done that. And then the third piece is the comprehensive plan. And I'm glad that you're looking at that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time,
I
sir.
had no idea.
Who do we have next, Ms. Barr?
Oh, good.
Real quick, can you see your name on that apologize? Is it Mr. McDonald?
Yes,
You would speak about food?
basically. Food and money, the two things that we all need, we all depend on. And two things that this county, this city is sorely in need of money, and we could very well soon be sorely in need of food. Now, I've had these two subjects on my mind heavy ever since I've been a teenager. Last name's McDonald, got the A, and he's being a student. And I'm a blue blood. Runs in my family, this whole idea about money. Again, the two go hand in hand. We have a grocery store in this town that is at the bottom of the list. If they have to pinch pennies, they're gonna pinch probably here first. We have a grocery store up the other end of town. Millions are owed. Billions are owed on that store. We know what the banks are doing. They're folding up, they're tightening up. If they decide to tighten up on Hugh, who I imagine has only been paying minimum, maybe a little bit more, we're screwed. We have 3 empty greenhouses in this town that couldn't even make money with the most lucrative crop in the world. So how in the world is actual food going to be grown when they've done everything in their power to make it as unlucrative as possible to grow, serve, do anything with food? What I've been working on the past 3 years comes down to math and logic. It comes down to the market. It comes to algorithmic trading, robotic trading that is absolutely needed because we don't have an army of traders. We don't have an army of extra people to pull the money out, but we do have electronics. We do have math and logic, and this is exactly what they do. What I have is proof and pudding. I have a little card here. I didn't bring enough tonight, but I'll be up here every week and people can doubt and disdain anything that I'm saying. It is all possible and it is all sorely needed. We have $100,000 in this county that they're wanting to divvy up. We all know that's going to go nowhere. We have Ski Hill over here with $100,000 that they want to, we all know that's going to go nowhere. Operations need millions. They need continual money coming in. The futures market runs 23.5 and it is mineable by math and logic. I challenge anybody here. So there's another one. Anybody wants an extra one, I'll be bringing more. I'm serious. I don't care. I've been here for 6 years. Al knows me well. Al knows I can talk my butt off for hours. Al knows a little bit about my diligence. And Al hasn't seen me in 4 years. What have I been doing in 4 years? I've been doing that. I'm here to help. I'm not selling anything except not even the idea, because the ideas always take money. Bring the ideas, because I have the solution for the money. Is it perfect? Nothing's perfect. Is it 100%? Nothing's 100%. But I've been taking the time to go through the absolute timing's everything. The absolute hardest market that this country, this world has ever seen. The past 3-4 years. And I've been running this, testing. For what? To support. At my vantage point, I overlook the entire town every day as I'm doing this.
Oh, thank you, Mr. McDonald. We look forward to,
And I thank you.
yes, sir. We look forward to hearing more about your potential plan.
Build those greenhouses up.
What is your full name, sir?
McDonald,
What's your first name?
Sean, SHAW.
And what is the name of your company? Do you have a name?
It's a Crawl Tools.
I'm sorry?
Crawl Tools. It's a funny name, but think of a crawdad, a crayfish just sitting there.
Thank you.
They're hungry. We're all hungry.
Who do we have next, Ms. Barr?
Anyone else in-house want to speak? No one else in-house?
And if you would like to speak on Zoom, please raise your hand and Ms. Barr will call your name.
Stacy Decker?
Good evening, guys. Sorry I couldn't be there down there. I was working on a production issue. the day job that helps pay for this tiny house. Will public comments be allowed for new business item number 8 later on today? Or is that just a discussion between you guys? Yes or no?
That's slated as a discussion among council, Mr. Decker.
Okay, so I'll add my comments to that in just a moment. Ms. Mays, from the last full city council meeting, a comment was made right near the end that I wanted to clarify and make sure I understand correctly here. Do you support the need for attainable housing in Walsenburg?
Yes,
Okay. Do you support tiny houses?
I support any housing that is affordable and gets people in housing.
Okay. Would you then support a small community of tiny homes that are attainable in price in Walsenburg?
Again, I support any housing that gets people housing in our community.
Cool, thank you. So for new business item number 8, over there in the Hoyatay Hills subdivision, I know that the county has proposed Clayton homes at $2,200 a piece. I mean, $220,000 is not attainable for a lot of folks. I'd like to make a recommendation as part of discussion for that. Hey, my talk here. I'd like to make consideration for that discussion to include the option of having full electric tiny homes versus Clayton homes that can be attainable priced at under $100,000 for people, and under 400 square feet is a lot for, especially for temporary and or long-term rental workforce housing. Please add that into the discussion for item number 8. I greatly appreciate it. Attorney, ma'am, I've got a question for you. Item number 6, March 3rd, is the eviction item independent of the discussion in that sentence? Was it supposed to be its own bullet point? Item number 6, review Stokehouse LLC issue with city administrator, work on eviction issue, and then draft email. Was that supposed to be its own bullet point?
Those are separate issues, yes.
Okay, just clarifying. I was like, okay, I'm gonna double check all that real quick here. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it, guys. I'm gonna work to try and be down there sometime soon, as long as there's not a production issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Who do we have next, Ms. Barr?
One's new, Tyra Avila. Regular.
Good evening, Administrator Avila.
Good morning, or good afternoon, excuse me. I do have a concern. We've been receiving the letters from the city administrator, and in the letter, she states very much of iterating the fact that the town needs to make a payment plan. Just so well aware of the board, we're not making a payment plan until it gets resolved. We do not owe that $31,000.
Well, as I'm sure you heard earlier in the meeting, that will be a topic within our executive session this evening, and we will move forward. I know originally you had requested for the 21st to meet with possibly the board along with your mayor. Was that something that you were still interested in down the road? Or...
Yes, we need a resolution to this. And the letter that she's sending us, she says in the letter that the city will take all and any action against under law to the continued non-payment of the town of Aguilar. When my records show different and off the master meter that we're off by $31,000, then you guys have overbilled us, overcharged us, and off of the master meter report, that's where the original reads come from.
And one thing I really hope to get clarified in our executive session this evening, and as you know, after the email exchange this weekend, if possible, I would sure like to see somewhat of a neutral party help moderate the discussions in this, since there's obviously strong feelings on both sides, so that we can come to a resolution. And of course, so Aguilar residents aren't caught in the crossfire of
Absolutely. But right now, the position that I'm in, there's a lot of conflict in our town, people putting stuff on social media, and therefore everybody's very afraid. We get letters from her weekly, and the residents are afraid the gas is going to get turned off. There's no approve that they proved that to me.
Well, I thank you for joining us this evening, Ms. Avila. And as I said, as a board, we will be discussing this further in executive session and especially seeking guidance from our attorney on how to best move forward with this.
Okay, thank
And
you.
hopefully we can come to a resolution that's satisfactory to both parties. But thank you for taking the time this evening, Ms. Avila. Who do we have next, Ms. Barr?
Okay, Criswell?
Good evening, Ms. Criswell.
Good evening. I've got two separate issues. The first part has two questions. I was curious regarding the water hall. When was the last time the applications were updated so that you know whether you have current information? And if it's been a while, is there any plan in the works to send out applications to everybody with the mailings that are going out for the policies and whatnot, so that you will have current information for 2023?
Ms. Davis, do you mind speaking to that?
So all of the applications were gone through within the last 2 weeks. The letter utilized the information that we had available, which should be indicative of how accurate it is based upon what is or is not returned, at which point we can address anything further. What we don't know either is how many of these accounts are active, which is substantial portion, or not how many of them are inactive, which is substantially more than are actually active. So.
Okay, thank you. The second part of that is, and I forget what you call them, those taps or the cutoffs, whatnot, when we have a major water break here in town, that would allow you to just turn off a portion of the water to customers as opposed to an entire side of the town. Has it any consideration ever been given as far as credits for customers if they go 2, 3, 4, 5 hours without water to get a credit to their bills? I know we have a problem with the billing system, but has any consideration or thought been given to granting credits when people lose water?
Honestly, in my opinion, I think that would be very hard to execute and a heck of a burden on staff. And to my knowledge, that hasn't been a topic of discussion amongst this board. I'm not sure amongst administration. Ms. Davis, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I guess that in consideration, usually when you get a credit, if you are being charged for something like there was a break and it went through your meter and you had no control over it or something like that. These circumstances where people either lose pressure or might have an inconvenience of a couple of hours, it's not like the water is going through their meter and they're being charged inadvertently. So I'm not sure what you would be crediting them for.
Be more so crediting them for an inconvenience, which isn't.
How would you determine what that looked like?
Did you have anything else in the few seconds left, Ms. Criswell?
No, sir, nothing at all.
Okay, thank you for taking the time this evening. Who do we have next, Ms. Barr?
Anyone else on Zoom?
Okay, we have no presentations or public hearings this evening, so we'll go ahead and move on to unfinished business. Item 3, approval of the 2023 cash farm lease agreement. Do we have a motion for this item?
I'll make a motion to approve 2023 cash farm lease agreement with ranches in the amount of $18,000. The April 1, 2023 through March 31, 2024 term.
Motion by Mr. Martinez. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Veal. Is there any discussion from council? Ms. Mace?
So how did this lease compare to the previous lease that they had?
This particular lease is very similar, other than, as I noted in the summary, what was modified was the period so that it reflects closer to the availability of the resources for the particular tenant. So instead of January 1 or October through some other period. It's a spring through summer, and then they have, based upon their irrigation practices and availability of grass, then they would have the opportunity to graze those fields or those pastures through the winter. And then at some point, if the city chose to change that lease or the leasee, then new tenants would have the same opportunity to irrigate and produce their own feed. So that's why that was included. It also includes a cost increase on the lease.
And this is an annual contract because before wasn't it a multi-year contract?
So it's both. So what happens is that the contract is for 1 year. If for some reason, one of the stipulations that we put in it, knowing that we are working with both our water attorney and our water engineer on perhaps doing something differently with the Walsenburg ditch, that we didn't want to adversely affect tenant. So we have a clause in there that in the month of March, that they have to, either the tenant or the leasee, in our case, would have to indicate in writing their intent on whether to move forward for the next year or whether we're going to terminate the lease.
And are they required to have any kind of liability because they are on city property?
I would have to, I'm pretty sure they're required to have, I'd have to look at the lease agreement, but I'm pretty sure they have to have both liability and property damage.
So do we have copies of their insurance? Okay, do we have those copies of that insurance?
We do not have the current ones because of the lease agreement hasn't been finalized, but we will have.
Thanks, Danny. Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, do you have anything?
No.
Ms. Vera, did you have a chance to review the lease? And are you satisfied with it?
Yes, yeah, and I just note that there is a requirement of maintaining insurance for general liability and property damage. Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Sana?
Nothing.
Jennings?
My question was answered.
Mr. Beal?
I'm good.
There's nothing further.
I'm gonna bring this up because it's been brought up here before. It's been brought up that Mr. Martinez had a conflict of interest, so I just want to make sure before we go through and vote that there is no conflict of interest here, that Mr. Martinez is involved in this. Because I don't want it to be an issue down the road.
So with Mr. Martinez, I believe in his contract, he's defined as I shouldn't say defined as the manager. He's to oversee the work of this individual. Is that an issue that you see, Ms. Vera? Him participating in the vote?
Mr. Martinez?
I'm the ranch manager. I oversee this guy's doing so that he's not doing anything out of bounds. Because
He represents the city's interest in ensuring that the tenant is operating the ranch in a manner that is in the best interest of the city. In a summary.
I don't think it's a conflict of interest. It's just been brought to the attention before. So I just want to be clear.
Sure. And I think it's always good to disclose that and to have that out in the open. Ultimately, it is your decision on whether you believe that you need to recuse yourself.
it doesn't profit me or harm me, either one, if he gets the lease or doesn't get the lease. I mean, it doesn't,
Okay.
I mean, I support him in this lease because he's been there and he knows how to irrigate those fields. He knows the water rights and he's done a good job, I think, so.
Okay. And ultimately, recusal is your call, but I don't see anything of concern.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farah. There's nothing further from council. Ms. Barr, could you please call for the vote?
Do we make a motion?
Yes.
Mayor Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Ms. Mays,
Yes.
Ms. Laura,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to new business. First item in new business is approval of the permanent modification of premises. This would be for our local Safeway store. Do we have a motion for this item?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Veal. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Martinez. So it's my understanding with the passage of proposition 125, 126 last year that allows the sale of wine in grocery stores. This is basically a formality that's needed given the expanded area that Safeway is going to be placing this wine in. They need a local approval. Is that correct, Ms. Vera?
That's correct. I don't know if they have a presentation or not, but essentially, all licensees that are electing under that new law to sell wine are modifying their stores to have a display for wine. So that they included, they'll have that in their diagram. And again, really, this is consent. Some municipalities do this administratively. It's not clear in the code whether or not it can be approved by the city clerk, and that's why it's before you right now.
Thank you. Does council have any questions or comments, Ms. Mays?
So we're approving, that's right.
That's correct. In your capacity as a local licensing authority.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, do you have anything?
No, I'm reading this back and forth with Ms. Vera and the city. It seems like it could have been a consent agenda item. Could have been. And so it basically, we're just approving it. They've done nothing wrong. They're just changing that. So.
Yeah, that's correct. And in the future, it should go under consent agenda.
Okay.
There used to be pickles, there'll be wine now. Ms. Laura.
No question. I was there when they were changing all of the items around. That was kind of fun.
Mr. Jennings.
Nothing.
Good. Before we call for the vote, is there a representative for Safeway on the line that would like to make any statements? Hearing none, Ms. Park, could you please call for the vote?
Ms. Mays,
Yes.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings.
I abstain.
All right,
I abstain. My wife works for Safeway.
thank you. Ms. Laura,
Yes.
Mayor Brian,
Yes.
passes.
And moving on to new business item number 5, approval of the burning of Fiesta Park ball fields. Given my employment with Huerfano County government, I'll be stepping out while council discusses this topic. Mr. Jennings will be taking over. Do we have a motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Behill and
Second it.
second by Ms. Lar. All righty.
Thanks, Charles. Okay, and you are,
Lester Berry, I'm the Parks and Rec Director for Huerfano County.
okay, thank
So I
you.
submitted the letter. I don't know if you guys have a copy of that or not. So basically,
we do.
what we're wanting to do is, we have a bunch of Sandberg stickers. On the field. We run a lot of youth activities, high school baseball, can they start now? So Chief Morningstar already signed a burn permit for us. We put one's worth of dates on there. So we can find like a windless day.
Good luck.
Try to get it. So what Chief Morningstar said he would do is they'll just bring their guys for training and bring a brush truck and they'll bring some drip cans and then kind of set the field on fire in spots, both the softball field and the baseball field. And then we'll try to get rid of those weeds and then hopefully this late spring, summer, get a little fresher green grass too. I've already talked to the baseball coaches, let them know that this might be a possibility, that they might be playing on a little ash or dirt for the home games that we have this year. But we're just seeking your approval to do that burn. But the fire department will oversee every part of that. And then the road and bridge department and parks and rec department will be there to assist if they need anything.
Okay. Does anybody from council have any questions? Ms. Mays?
No, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for the fire department for training, so.
Yeah.
That was like a double win.
Do this a little more regular, every other.
I was gonna say, has this ever been done before?
Not that I know.
Okay, yeah, me either.
Been here a long time.
So it's probably overdue.
Yeah.
Ms.
Look on that Wednesday state.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, hopefully. Today would have been a good day.
Yeah.
Ms. Laura?
I'd be grateful for that because those sandburrs really hurt. If you get them on your clothes, oh, they're hard to get off.
Yeah, we can spray the goat heads on the fence line and we can take care of that. It's just that of those others, just kind of a booger. So.
Yeah, pretty hardy.
And I just feel sorry for the parents of them You said you're playing in the
Soccer
ashes
season
for a while.
was, but I caught a lot of heck for that one, so we're gonna try to resolve that.
Mr. Rio, you have anything?
I'm for it.
Okay, there nothing you want to call for the vote, Stephanie?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Mays,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
Yes.
Ms. Laura,
Yes.
passes.
Mayor back in here?
Okay, moving on to new business item 6, approval of an election hearing officer. Do we have a motion for this, or Ms. Davis, would you like to lead us into this?
I would need a motion for a discussion.
I apologize.
Make a motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Motion by Mr. Veal. Do we have a second?
Do we need to read the whole motion out
second.
or no? Doesn't matter.
Second by Mr. Jennings.
Motion for the,
I'll make the motion. You want me to say it all?
Oh, please.
Designation of a hearing officer for the recall protest.
And who did we have a second on that? Mr. Jennings. Ms. Davis, do you mind leading us in?
so this is very similar to the process that we went through a couple of weeks ago in terms of the protest hearing for the petition for council people. We do have, as noted, we do have one protest that has been filed on the mayoral petition. Based upon that, it is your responsibility as a council then to designate a hearing officer, and that person would serve as the individual who would listen to both the pros and cons and direct that process, much as you would in a sort of a quasi judicial system. As indicated, again, you know, from a continuity standpoint, and we've recommended as a administrator to appoint Ms. Gulpin, who served in the capacity originally for the other protest hearing, is also serving as our counsel, the recall petition process. And that would be our recommendation moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Does council have any questions or comments? Ms. Nice?
No.
Mr. Martinez?
No.
Sorry.
No.
Mr. Jennings?
No.
Mr. Villa?
Clifton.
That being said, would a council member mind entertaining a motion appointing Miss Karen Goldman as the protest hearing officer? Or I apologize, I'm skipping over this here, election hearing officer, excuse me. If council doesn't mind, we'll cover this topic first, then I'll back up to 6. I apologize with the different election topics here. I gleaned over one. We'll deal, I suppose, first with the protest hearing officer.
Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Miss Karen Goldman to serve as a hearing officer for the recall petition protest.
A motion by Mr. Jennings. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Veal. Is there any additional discussion before we call for the vote? Hearing none, Ms. Park, please call for the vote.
Ms. Laura,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
Yes.
Ms. Mays,
Yes.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez, Mayor Bryant.
Yes. Okay, next up, approval of an election protest hearing date. Do we have a motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion to discuss.
Motion by Mr. Veal. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Laura. Ms. Davis, do you mind informing us of suggestions from administration and Ms. Goldman?
As I presented in both the recommendation, the administrative recommendation that you have in front of us, timing is critical in this. We have 5 to 10 days from the point at which you designate a hearing officer, which puts us into the next week. So our window of opportunity is basically Monday through Friday, where because of at the conclusion of a protest hearing, The protest officer has 5 days in which to determine her finding of fact. In order for us to have that available for city council consideration on the 21st, that makes it extremely tight window. The recommendation in front of you is to set the hearing date for Wednesday, March 15th at 9 a.m. That would be conducted in the city council chambers, 525 South Albert Avenue in Walsenburg, Colorado.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Does council have any questions or comments? Mr. Veal?
Nothing.
Mr. Jennings?
No.
Ms. Larry?
No.
Mr. Martinez?
No.
Ms. Miss?
Will this allow enough time to get everything on one ballot? So it's one election.
That is the intent,
Okay, if there's enough,
but the UACAVA, which are the 8 ballots for those people who have requested absentee, in a sense, absentee ballots or are overseas, those ballots have to be out by March 31st. So it's a very tight window.
thank you, Ms. Davis. Would a council member mind entertaining a motion then to approve the election protest hearing date for Wednesday, March 15th at 9 a.m. in city council chambers?
I'll make a motion that we set the date for the recall protest hearing for March 15th, 2023 at 9 a.m. in the city council chambers.
A motion by Ms. Lar. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Veal. Is there any discussion before we call for the vote? Hearing none, Ms. Barr, could you please call for the vote?
Mr. Jennings,
Yes.
Ms. Mays,
Yes.
Mayor Bryant.
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Vito,
Yes.
Ms. Laura,
Yes.
passes.
Okay, next up, new business item 8, consideration of a request from Huerfano County Economic Development for a letter of commitment for utility taps in the Wahatoya Hills subdivision. Do we have a motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion to discuss.
Motion by Ms. Mays,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Jennings. We have Mr. Carlton Croft with Huerfano County Economic Development in attendance this evening. Mr. Croft, do you mind giving us an overview of your request here, what your plans are out in North Lansing?
I've got maps too.
Thank you, sir.
Pass those out.
For the record, Mayor, I'd like, and for Mr. Croft's information as well, what is in front of you included the survey plat map as well as their letter of request and the recommendation based upon administration. Tried to do our due diligence ahead of time to give you a little background on this particular subdivision. Nick's shaking his head. This subdivision's been in place since
Oh, I know it has.
late 60s.
I would just look.
70. So at that point in time, your predecessors certainly knew the value of that particular subdivision and its proximity to the city. Over the years, the city has taken their time and effort and the money to extend utilities out there. They do have full water, sewer, and gas.
Yes,
All of
late.
these lines and their availability are to each site. Conversation we followed up with both our water attorney and our water engineer. There's, because of the history and the age of this subdivision, that demand what has been calculated in our augmentation for Northland. So there's little effect on what that would look like. And then, of course, as residential properties, these will be tied into the sewer system. So there's a substantial portion of whatever they use that would be coming back over the hill back into our sewer system and returning to the basin. So between those two factors, the lift station was built to accommodate not only this entire built out subdivision, but commercial development as well. So there's little effect on our infrastructure. So I just wanted to assure the council that we had done our due diligence in terms of reviewing this application and this request.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Mr. Croft, do you mind describing the type and number of units, housing units you're?
So, the housing units themselves would be provided by Clayton Homes. They're 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Is considered attainable. And the way this all came about, DOLA actually contacted me about a new program that we have. We've been working on worker housing for the 2.5 years I've been in this position. And they have a new program which will offer $50,000 grant money to be able to build these homes. And that was the money that we've run into in the past that we didn't have. We're also working with NeighborWorks out of Pueblo. They do a lot of worker housing and also affordable housing as well. And so all these things just have kind of come together. And so a long answer to a short question, but these are nice houses that a family, they're targeted for teachers, nurses, law enforcement, working folks here in the county. And we will probably have a deed restriction. They have to be living in the county and working in the county. Qualify for these.
Thank you, Mr. Croft. Does council have any questions for Mr. Croft, Ms. Mays?
Well, that was one of my questions, was the deed restriction. My other question is, are you asking? So you're asking for taps, but that is with cost, right? That they will be paid for.
Absolutely.
Okay. And what was my other question? I did actually want to follow up since the question was directed to me. I know you've been working diligently on this project since I've been on council, and I appreciate all the work that you put into this. I have no intentions of asking you to change your plans. I think that the kind of housing that you're trying to bring to us, kind of housing that we need, and I support what you're doing. Thank you for your work.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Martinez, do you have anything?
Oh, I don't know that I agree that 220,000 is an affordable price, but I don't have any opposition to the project.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. And you'll be connecting these to our natural gas lines as well, correct? And I think that's one thing that would be a benefit. It's my understanding that a lot of those homes out in that subdivision, even though we have all that infrastructure out there for gas lines, not very many people make use of it and actually have taps. So that'd be great to get some folks on that side of the hill actually tapped into that vast amount of expense that was involved to get that line ran out there.
I believe the gas line was the last service that was actually put out there, one of the last services.
It was.
Most of those homes were already already had their own propane tanks. So similar to, as I noted in the notation, they had their own septic systems. One of the requirements with the Northland Lift Station by DOLA was that those homes be converted to the septic or to the sewer system versus the septic. So they were converted from that, but the propane was still in place.
And bounce off of Ms. Mays's comments as far as maybe changing the approach this late in the game, as Mr. Decker had suggested with tiny homes. As Ms. Mays has said, Mr. Croft has been working on this as long as certainly I've been in office, and also in negotiations with Clayton Homes. And I think that would be actually fairly harmful to the project right now to try to change horses like that midstream. Sorry.
So what is the difference between the yellow and the blue? Are the yellow the ones that you are going to build now?
The yellow ones are owned by the daughter family. They're interested in being part of this project as well. The blue homes are owned by Warfano County Economic Development.
Are all of those lots vacant out there? Yeah, all the ones on this map are all vacant.
All the ones notated in coloring. Most of the houses
The ones that are not highlighted are actually,
So they're either owned by someone else, but the ones on the Laga Vista side, most of those have homes on them. Those to the north of the blue, still vacant. Most of these down in here are still vacant. So there's a little combination of these that do have homes on them and these that are either owned by someone else, but they are vacant.
I didn't realize there was that many lots.
So there's 22 highlighted, and you said you're putting a maximum of 15 homes there?
Well, we have been offered the additional lots for this program. I was leaving that up to the city, to what all you all would be comfortable with, especially the water. Step in making sure that we can do this.
Okay.
So I would, if we could do 22, that'd be great. If we could do 15, that'd be great. Or
Start with 7.
if you do 7, that would be.
Start with 7.
But, the more the better. We do get a better price break, the more that we do Clayton home.
Okay, and daughter is like donating these to you?
They're working with us. That still needs to be worked out. I wanted to find out, first of all, if you all were interested in this, and second of all, if you felt the infrastructure and the water is going to be a good fit for you before we move too far down the road.
Ms. Davis, when Mr. Welsh was reviewing this project, what number of homes?
We presented the initial 8 to 15 is what we had been given. So that was the conversation.
Thank you. Did you have anything else, Ms. Law?
Well, I really want to see them. I just hope that our infrastructure can handle it, so.
I hope they can get them sold.
Well, and that too.
That's a worry for us. The hard part.
I know I can't afford one.
Mr. Jennings?
Man, I'm just glad that, you checked on the water issue on it. That would be the main thing, really. And then hopefully we'll get some money coming in from the taps on this.
Mr. Veal, did you have anything?
I'm good with it.
Okay, so we had a motion to,
I just have one other question. On the deed restriction, does that prevent people from buying them and turning them into rentals?
On the deed restriction.
Yeah, is that part of it that you have to live in it if you own it?
Yes.
Okay, so like someone can't come in, buy all of them and then rent them out?
we had a motion to discuss. Would a council member mind entertaining a motion to authorize the letter of commitment project for administration to draft such?
Well, I have one question because the motion that Ms. Davis would like us to state is 8 to 5 homes. Is that what we want to stick with for now?
8 to 15.
8 to 15, sorry. So do we want to stick with that amount?
I think we do.
I think you need to go to 7, well, and I had 8. The request for 7 and a maximum of 15. My recommendation would be to commit to that at this juncture. That I know we are confident based upon our conversations with our water attorney.
So 7 to 15?
8.
My recommendation, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'd like to make a recommendation that City Administrator Davis prepare a letter supporting the development of 7 to 15 for now home sites in the Wahatoya subdivision, and I guess they commit for all of the utility taps, including water, sewer, and gas.
I'll second that.
You had a motion by Ms. Laura and a second by Ms. Mays. Is there any additional discussion before we call for the vote? Did you have any final words before?
Good, thank you, guys. We really appreciate you working.
I appreciate your hard work you put into this.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Ms. Barr, can you please call for the vote?
Ms. Mays,
Yes.
Jennings,
Yes.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Laura,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Bryant.
Yes. Mr. Cross? Next moving on to authorization for the submission of the congressionally directed spending request for raw water line. Do we have a motion for this item?
I'll make a motion consideration of a request, no. Authorizing for the submission of the congressionally directed spending CDS request for raw water line.
Motion by Mr. Veal. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Mays. Ms. Davis, it's my understanding that you're wanting to submit a request both to Senator Bennett and Hickenlooper's office. Do you mind speaking on that a little further?
We were notified late last week and I know the mayor was also made aware that our congressmen and women have what's determined to be congressionally directed spending opportunities. And what they do is they poll their general population, their municipalities, nonprofits, whomever, to determine if there are projects in their communities that they can support. And there's a list of federal agencies that have funding available, particularly in this next funding year, which for the feds begins in October. So it's more of a 2022-2024 cycle. And this particular opportunity, we would identify for the raw water line. I believe we talked about it briefly at the last meeting. We've identified an opportunity where we can rehabilitate one of the raw water lines for substantially less than what we were projecting a new construction and replacement. We would like to certainly approach both Bennett and Hickenlooper and Representative Boebert to stand behind this project. We've been in contact with both Colorado Rural Water Association. They'll provide a letter of support, as will the Colorado Water Conservation Board. So we feel like we have some good letters of support. If we can plead our case, we're going to request that the project itself, from what we've sort of fine-tuned with our engineer, is that it's probably going to be in the neighborhood of $6.5 million. We're going to run a request for $5 million in hopes of being able to obtain some additional funding later this spring and later summer and fall for the balance of that if we're successful in our approach with the congressional spending.
Does council have any questions for Ms. Davis? Mr. Veal? Mr. Jennings?
I don't.
Ms. Starr?
I have a question because I thought we had discussed. Now this says rehabilitation. Does that mean replacement of the line? Because I thought we had discussed replacing the steel line, not because the cast iron is in better shape.
The cast iron is in better shape, but for the process that we're approaching, it affords us the best opportunity to be successful with this. I call it rehabilitation because it's not a true construction project, because we're not digging it up and replacing it. What we're proposing is that we literally sleeve this line, which is also the larger of the two lines, with HDPE pipe. So the process then becomes more of a rehabilitation, but we use the existing easement. We use the existing pipe to support that. And we pull the new, the HDP pipe, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, is actually heat glue joints that are stronger than actually the pipe themselves. So you can do about anything with them and not run a risk of damaging anything. So that's the approach that we're going to take with this.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Ms., did you have anything else?
Well, my only concern is, I guess, the sleeve would go inside the cast iron pipe.
Correct.
I don't like that idea. I really don't.
One benefit of a high dollar project like this, there will be plenty of preliminary engineering.
Yes.
behind it, so those concerns can hopefully be alleviated.
Sleeving and pipe, often what they refer to as pipe bursting is now the most accepted manner of replacing older lines because you're utilizing the infrastructure that's already in place and it becomes sort of a containment area. So,
And what is the cast iron?
Diameter?
Is that pipe? Yeah, the diameter. So then this will go to like a 12?
We'll have to do some exploration on what the actual inside diameter of that cast iron is going to allow.
One benefit of taking this approach is from a safety standpoint, we don't have all that open excavation and the need for shoring that comes with that. And then also too, that liner basically going down the exact path of the former pipeline. It really spares us on any surprises we might find with undiscovered utilities that could be lurking out there. Mr. Martinez, do you have anything? Ms. Mace?
I just want to say thank you for going after both senators as well as our representative. Hopefully get somewhere. Good luck.
Hey, we had a motion on the floor to allow Ms. Davis to submit this request. If there's nothing further from council, Ms. Park, she's called for the vote.
Yes.
Mayor Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Beal,
Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Mays,
Oh, yes, sorry.
passes.
Okay, moving on to new business item 10, authorization for the submission of the DOLA Energy Impact Assistance Fund grant for a comprehensive plan. Do we have a motion? This item?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Veal. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jennings. Ms. Davis, do you mind giving us an overview of
State statute mandates that municipalities have to prepare a comprehensive plan. Unfortunately, the city of Walsenburg hasn't completed one since 2015. At which point in time it was sufficient for its needs. I know in 2020, 2021, there was some work that was done towards a comprehensive plan. But it wasn't completed. Department of Local Affairs has some specific requirements on what they really want to see. And that would be the approach that the city would take, is identifying a consultant that would help truly complete a comprehensive plan in a manner that both met state statutes as well as the expectations of the Department of Local Affairs. We have had for 2 years that I know of, $100,000 identified in the capital improvement program to serve as matching funds for this. So the application to DOLA would be for 100. We would match it according to the 50% requirement. And we should be able to not only get both the comprehensive plan, but also be able to incorporate and update our 3-mile plan, which requires an annual review. That's the intent.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Does council have any questions, Ms. Mace?
I don't think so.
Mr. Martinez?
Nope.
Sir?
One question. So we never really had the EIAF grant before. It was just something we wanted to get.
That's my understanding, is why the funds were put in place in the capital improvement plan. That was the intent.
Okay, so I know we're working with, and he's gone now, but with the county on the IHOP grant.
That's correct.
Is there money in there for part of the comp plan? I know we didn't go together on this.
No. Specifically, the IHOP, the comprehensive component that the county was trying to intended to incorporate with their scope of work was a separate scope of work than what the city identified as our needs. The work that is being completed in the IHOP specifically on the housing becomes a component piece. So in a sense, you have paid for part of that already, as well as the GMS study on the sewer. So there are some key pieces that will work nicely into this that are already established and we're proceeding with. But the comprehensive plan, it's so specific to the municipality that both the Planning and Zoning Commission and you initially felt that it was not the best fit to try to incorporate with the county and the town of Levita and work something out from a comprehensive plan.
So is the basic part of it okay? I mean, I helped put some of that comp and the strategic plan together, so I combined them. Is most of that still okay? I mean, the surveys I know would probably have to be redone and all of that, but is the basic part of the plan okay?
We'll have to go through and evaluate. There's substantial components that are lacking, the housing being one of those. Recreation and tourism is pretty non-existent. Cultural, historical, social setting. So again, I think we have some bones to work with and can build upon. So we're not starting from scratch, but there will be some work and it will probably take a year to a year and a half to complete.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jennings, do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Mr. Veal?
Nothing at this point.
And once we do get to the stage of where we have a consultant in drafting our comprehensive plan in the past, it seems like it's been forever, but there was quite a bit of outreach, the hopes of getting as much citizen engagement as possible. Because and as Ms. Beer had said earlier, this is really one of the prime opportunities that citizens have, aside from electing your elected officials, to sort of shape what you would like to see the future of Walsenburg be and how we go about accomplishing that. These comprehensive plans, especially for folks new to the area, can really help you learn a lot about not only what the challenges are that the community has, but also a lot of the opportunities that are here. So I'd really encourage everybody's involvement when the time comes for that. There's nothing further from council. We had a motion on the floor to authorize this submission of this EIAF grant. Ms. Barr, could you please call for the vote?
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Laura,
Yes.
Ms. Mays.
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
Yeah.
passes.
Next up, new business item 11, move to accept 5 settlement agreements per the state attorney general for city participation. Each award with Allergan, CVS Health, Tiva, Walmart, and Walgreens, and authorize the mayor to sign each agreement. Do we have a motion for this item?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Veal. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Martinez. Mr. Moore, do you mind describing what all is entailed with these settlement agreements?
The Colorado State Attorney General was successful with his suits to get awards from those 5 pharmaceutical companies. It's important that each local government participate in that. Failure to participate would imply that the local government doesn't accept the settlement and would want to pursue that as an alternate course of action. So by participating, the council vote would allow the Attorney General to collect the larger award portion.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Does council have any questions? Mr. Veal?
I'm good.
Mr. Jennings?
No.
Ms. Laura?
The only question I have is, it says in your report, Ms. Davis, that the city opted out of the opioid funds management, so all the funds will go to Region 19, but it still separates it to Warfano County getting help for any clients that need the funds for the program, correct?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Moore on that. I'm not sure quite how those funds are allocated for the region. I think it's handled through the health department.
Right, and Huerfano County is part of Region 19.
Okay, so we just get a portion of it.
I don't know if it's allocated on the basis of need or if there's proactive programs and outreach that they perform, but as far as I know, as a participant through Region 19, Huerfano County has those funds available.
Because for the original one, we received what, 40,000 over like 20 years or something like that?
Original agreement, the city of Walsenburg was going to receive a total of $36,000. The amount was over 20 years, so that was going to be approximately $2,000 per year, with use of the funds restricted to very explicit uses.
Do you have anything else, Ms. Laura?
No, thank you.
Mr. Martinez, do you have anything? No. Ms. Mason?
So the only thing I was curious about is, so it lists all these companies, which most of them are pharmacies that aren't in our area and we're still eligible to be part of the suit.
They're the national corporations,
Yeah.
yes.
And then do we get any updates from where we allocated this money to go? Do they like send any kind of reports?
You see at the very last page, there's the Attorney General provided a document showing the funding that's a result of the.
Right, but what I'm saying is, so like the first batch of money we already allocated to go to this bigger region, what I'm saying, are they providing us any documentation of what money we've sent them with the money other municipalities have sent them?
Any information from the Region 19?
Can you follow up with them just to, I mean, it'd be interesting just to see what are they doing with this collaborative money.
Yeah, I'll see what kind of plan they might have and distribute that information for.
Great, thank you.
Is there anything further from council? Hearing none, we had a motion on the floor. Ms. Barr, could you please call for the vote?
Ryan,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Yes.
Jennings,
Yes.
Ms. Mays.
Yes.
Mr. Wheel,
Yes.
passes.
Okay, next up, new business item 12. We had added this during the approval of this evening's agenda. This topic will be acceptance of the letter of resignation from Councilman Greg Daniels. Do we have a motion for this item?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Veal. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Jennings. This evening, we all were provided notification of Mr. Daniels' resignation, and to formalize that, we have to accept that resignation as a board. And once we get past this, our next topic will be determining how we go about filling that vacancy. But if there's no further discussion from council concerning Mr. Daniels' resignation, I'd like to ask Ms. Barr for the vote.
I would actually, Mr. Daniel served this community for 7.5 years. Not everybody always agreed with what he did, but he had a lot of knowledge, and a lot of that is lacking in just these past meetings that he's missed. And I think we owe it to him to read his letter out loud. I think that it needs to be on record and everybody needs to hear what his resignation is. So read it, but I feel we owe that to him for his 7.5 years of service that he did to the city.
But council's permission, I will read that letter.
Yes, Ms. Davis, if you could, please.
To city council administration and staff, it has been an honor to serve this great community as a city council member and mayor pro temp for the past 7.5 years. Due to declining health issues and the inability to find any common ground with the current mayor, I feel it is best effective immediately. March 7, 2023, I am retiring from public office. I wish nothing less than the best for the citizens of our great community. It has been a great pleasure and thank you for having me. Sincerely, Gregory P. Daniels.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Is there anything further from council? Yes, Ms. Laura.
I appreciate Mr. Daniels being here. As you have kind of heard, we've been slow to make the motions because we're used to Mr. Daniels making most of the motions. So he will be missed. He did again have a lot of knowledge and you know, we never totally agree with everyone. So that's just pretty normal, pretty typical. And I will miss him and I think the community will miss him as well. Thank you, Mr. Daniels.
Is there anything further from council?
Mr. Daniels convinced me to serve on this board. It's been a real eye-opening experience. I feel that he has put his soul into serving for 7.5 years. I don't know anybody else that devoted as much time as he has. And he will be sorely missed on this board. And it'd be regretfully that I accept his resignation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
I'm gonna thank him for his service and I sure hope he still takes my calls.
Okay, if there's nothing further from council, Mr. Clark, please call for the vote.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Mays,
In spirit of Greg, no.
Mr. Jennings. Ms. Laura,
I'm going to say no as well.
Mr. Martinez,
I will say yes regretfully because that's what he wanted, was to be out of here.
Mayor Bryant.
Yes. Okay, our next agenda item will be a discussion on filling the vacancy for Mr. Daniels' seat. Do we have a motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion for discussion purposes that we talk about what the next step is to replace Mr. Daniels.
Motion by Ms. Laura. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Veal. So within the sheet provided by administration this evening, it appears that administration is suggesting that the seat be advertised with letters of intent due by March 31st. In my opinion, if possible, I think the appointment of elected officials by other elected somewhat circumvents the process here. And normally council's sort of in a tough position and has to go that appointment route just to spare the cost of having a special election for one seat. Given that we have this special election scheduled here on May 16th, I would rather see the voters determine who fills that seat rather than a board of 6 individuals. That's my opinion on that, Ms. Mays.
My concern is timeline on that. We have an election May 16th, probably won't be cured until the end of May. That seats someone in June, where if we can appoint someone ending March, hopefully we could seat them in April. So timeline, I fear having 6 people on this council. We end some critical decisions in a tie, they fail. So we've seen it happen before. So my main concern is timeline and depending what the proper procedure is. I realize this recall was in place, but you know, he's resigned before this election has started, so.
So it's definitely up to city council which way you'd like to go. You could definitely put it up for a special election. With the special election not being until May, I think best practice would be to find somebody to fill the appointment within a month or so, which is the current timeline that Ms. Davis has recommended here. Again, it's totally up to you all. Whoever you appointed would fill in the remainder of that term, which ends in November. And then there would have to be a separate election for the next term. So it would really be, I don't know how many months that is, 6 or 7 months that they'd be filling in for.
Thank you, Ms. Farah. Mr. Martinez, do you have any thoughts?
In my experience, we've always done it that way. Receive letters of intent and then pick someone to fill in a vacant term for the balance of the term. And I'm comfortable doing that.
Thank you. Ms. Laura?
I agree. I think that would be too long of a period without a city council member up here. So I would agree that we should send out letters, appoint someone.
Mr. Jennings?
Well, I see both sides, we took it to special election, that, the citizens would have the choice, but every time we ever had anybody step down or anything, we actually did appoint somebody. And, the appointment, like you said, is gonna be for 6 or 7 months, and then it's gonna go to election anyway. And I agree with Ms. Mays that we should have, 7 person on here just for the simple fact that any ties happening. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Mr. Beal?
I agree with Rick and Veronica.
Well, and I'll just say, being the last appointed council member, very similar, I was able to kind of fill that spot, get a feel for it, and then I ran for it. But I think that definitely will give somebody opportunity to get a feel for it, and we need help up here. We need 7 people, so.
Okay, if there's nothing further from council, would a council member mind making a motion reflecting whatever your desire may be?
I'll make a motion to direct administration to advertise the council vacancy in Ward 1 created by resignation of Mr. Daniels, with letters of interest due by March 31st.
Motion by Mr. Martinez, a second by Mr. Veal. Is there any discussion before we call for the vote? Hearing none, Ms. Barr, could you please call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
Yes.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Bryant,
No.
passes.
Okay, moving on to mayor and council comments, directions, actions, and reports. Mr. Veal, do you have anything for us this evening?
Yeah, I'd like to see if we could set up a special meeting with the Housing Authority and Aguilar to see what's going on with these bills.
Authority or with this town?
Housing Authority's having the same problems as Aguilar, I guess.
Oh, got it.
I'd like to see,
Aguilar.
I should have said it
It's been a long, long day.
as.
Do you have a proposed date? Would you like to put that in the form of a motion, sir?
I don't have a date. Anybody want to propose a date?
Should we do it as soon as possible or? And then have the financial meeting as well?
And we'd have to see if it'll work with them also.
Yeah.
The same date.
So maybe as early as next Tuesday, would everyone be able to do that?
I believe we have URA next Tuesday, don't we?
Oh, that's right. And then we have a meeting the following week.
Yep.
You want to do it on a different day or just with?
Does it have to be all of council, or can a couple members from council meet with them? That way it doesn't have to be a scheduled meeting. Just an idea, just a thought.
It would only 2 would be allowed to go.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Ms. Davis?
You want to form a?
I mean, do you think all of us need to be there?
Well, not particularly. I guess I'm not quite understanding what it is that you're hoping to accomplish in these special meetings.
Could we discuss that at executive session and possibly come out and make a decision on a date?
That would be an option.
Sure.
That's okay with me.
Okay, want to do that?
Yeah.
Did you have anything else, Mr. Beal?
No.
Mr. Jenkins?
No.
Ms. Laura?
No.
Mr. Martinez? Mason?
I don't think so.
Hey, I had nothing further this evening. We can go ahead and move on to our executive session items. Would someone mind reading us into executive session item A? And then I'll request a 5-minute recess before we actually convene that executive session.
So before you make that motion, I just want to ask that you specify each topic that we want to discuss in executive session.
Thank you.
So
I had them, but I wasn't sure.
okay, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for the purpose of a conference with the city attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS section 24-6-4024B regarding the sheriff, the mercantile, the billing, and Aguilar.
Got a motion by Miss Laura. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Vihil. Ms. Clark, please call for the vote.
Jennings?
Yes.
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 Martinez?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Burke?
Yes.
That's it.
For the purpose of clarity, I would request that we address Aguilar in this order, Aguilar, billing, and I request that Mr. Moore be provided the opportunity to join us on those particular topics, the mercantile, and then we can close with the sheriff as the mayor has to recuse himself.
Very well. Okay, we'll go ahead and take a 5-minute recess, give everybody a short health break before we get into our executive session. So we'll try to get in there about 50.
We all need to say yes. Oh, she already went, sorry. Trying to go home.
I've listened to a lot of it, but I've never done it. Yeah.
Look at this, Rick. You, me.
Yeah, this is thick though.
So these are.
Hearts are the best. Yeah. I have a heart myself. But they cost. Yeah. They last for it. Okay, the time is now 9 o'clock and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were Councilwoman Veronica Mays, Councilman Don Martinez, Mayor Bryant for the first three participants, Councilwoman Carmen Laura, Councilman Nick Vigil, and myself, Rick Jennings. And Gabe, Administrator Gay Davis and
City Attorney.
Miss Vera and
Finance Director.
Finance Director Jim Moore. For the record, if any person participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motions to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask you that you state your concerns for the record. Being none, the next agenda item is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Sure. Second. Aye. Aye.
Get the heck. Sounds like you got some.
Those were some good